My name's Gary. With me, I've got Luan here. I think I've said it before on one or two occasions that when somebody starts a presentation, they say, my name's Gary and I'm addicted to ignition. That's when people start getting out their cell phones and reading emails. So enough said about me. As I say, I'm Gary, with me Luan. And welcome to this morning's session. We're going to talk about ignition and what a fantastic platform ignition is. I know your time is valuable, so I hope that this is worthwhile for you. Before I start talking about ignition, I just want to talk one slide about Element 8 and who we are. So Element 8 is the sole sub-Saharan Africa distributor of the ignition industrial automation platform, Sepasoft MES, which is MES purpose-built for ignition, and the Canary Data Historia. We want to ensure a flourishing future for industry. One of the things that's very sad at the moment is if you go past any airport in the country, you'll see there are hundreds of warehouses going up. And it's great if those warehouses are there for export, but I don't think they are. I think they're there for import, which is a sad reflection of the state of the country. So if we can help manufacturing in any small way, that's one of the reasons, or one of the things that we want to do. We believe that whatever we learn, we need to share. And we need to share it with our community. We need to learn from others, and we need to share everything that we've learned. So that anytime, if I build a demo, or Marcus or any one of our team build any demos, or you want any assistance from us, we will share as much as possible. And we provide data-driven and scalable industrial technologies that break down the barriers of cost and complexity. And scalable is very important. So often we start off with something small, and as soon as we want to make it bigger, it just doesn't work. And one of the great things about ignition is you can start small and you can grow it out and expand it. And really the possibilities are unlimited. And it is a very cost-effective solution, and it's a very easy solution to use. So let's talk about ignition. Ignition is not a preset package of things. The ignition, you can pick and choose the modules that you need that are purpose-built for ignition. And because you can pick and choose the modules that you need, you can configure ignition to provide exactly what you need. Whether it is a full-blown SCADA, an HMI, an MES, whether you want to use it to build a UNS for data ops, for anything that you want to do, you can do it within ignition. And because it's modular and it's server-based, you can easily add features and scale your architecture as you need it. We're going to talk about licensing, but one of the great things about ignition is it is perpetual licensing. So there's no such thing with the standard versions of ignition as a subscription license. There is Ignition Cloud Edition, which is subscription-based, and you buy that from Azure or AWS. But for the on-site or on-prem licenses of ignition, they're all perpetual licenses. We'll talk about cross-platform compatibility. We can use this on Windows. We can run it on Linux. We can even run it on Mac. And you can really, as I said, you can build any kind of industrial application with it. It's one platform. It's a single platform. Everything within ignition is unlimited. So when you buy the ignition platform, the tags are unlimited. The number of devices you can connect to is unlimited. It's a service-centric web-deployed model. Because it's service-centric, it means that you can easily deploy things out. You can easily scale this application. You can buy the modules that you need. So if you only need visualization, well, you only buy the visualization module. I've discussed cross-platform compatibility. We can run Windows, Mac, anything we like. We can connect to any major PLC or database. And you'll see that when I start doing some building for you. We can connect to Allen Bradley, all the versions of Allen Bradley, Modbus, Siemens, Mitsubishi, DNP3, IEC61F50, really the list is endless. We have a universal designer, and there's no concept of an engineering station license. So you can have as many designers as you like. It's a universal designer, and you can just carry on and build. You don't have to worry about licensing your engineering stations. We use open standard technologies. So we don't use, it's not open technologies, it's open standards, meaning everything is built on IT-friendly type things, SQL, OPC, MQTT. These are all standards, and they're standard technologies, and they're open technologies. And because of all these things, you can rapidly develop and deploy any application that you need to. I've mentioned unlimited. So as I said, with the platform, you buy the platform, you get unlimited tags, you get unlimited devices. You can connect to an unlimited number of devices. You can have an unlimited number of tags in your application. You can connect to an unlimited number of databases. If you have the visualization module, perspective, or vision, you have an unlimited number of screens that you can build in that application, and you can have an unlimited number of users. So really, everything is unlimited. If you buy the historian module, you can historize an unlimited number of tags. And, whether it's developing applications for water, wastewater, automotive, data centers, it's really, you can build anything. And Ignition is trusted by thousands of companies across the globe. It's not the road, the globe. I'm thinking about Helen Ziller swimming in
the potholes.
In the potholes. This is not a brag slide. What we just want to show is that this is used across many different industries. And in fact, I was watching one of the inductive automation webcasts last night, and they say that it is run in 69% of the Fortune 100 companies in the US. So, of course, this is in the US, doesn't mean much to us, but if you go into South Africa, once again, you can see it's in mining, food and beverage, fast-moving consumer goods, pharma, every single industry, rack center, data centers, we've got it running in renewable energy. You dream it, you can do it. That's it. The Ignition software stack, this is just to give you an idea of what the software stack is. At the bottom layer, we have our operating systems. We can run on Windows, Linux, OS X, Mac. We have an application for your mobile devices for iOS and Android. The interesting thing about that is if you run your application on iOS or on an Android device, you get the functionality of that mobile device added in. So you can use the camera, location services, all of those kinds of things in that iOS device. I mentioned the connections. We can connect to anything in the Ignition. You have the tag system. Your database can have connectivity, OPC connectivity. They're the core drivers. There's a full list of them available. You build your security into the platform. You do all of your development there. We have enterprise capabilities for store and forward, for redundancy, for enterprise management of your entire system. If you have a scaled out system, you can monitor the system. You can do all of that. Here in the orange are some of the modules that we have. We have the visualization modules, data and logic modules like SQL Bridge, which is an easy way of moving data between a PLC and a database. There's the tag historian or the industrial historian suite, SFCs, alarm notifications. Interesting, Ignition comes with every tag can have an unlimited number of alarms. The alarm notification module allows you to build workflows around those alarms. So we can say if an alarm has been unacknowledged for more than 5 minutes, send an email message to somebody or send a WhatsApp or a Twilio or whatever message you want to send out. And if nothing happens, still within 5 minutes, you can keep on escalating that thing. There's the enterprise administration, OPC UA, and then we have some purpose-built modules by our partners. So we have specific modules written by CirrusLink. CirrusLink is a company, it's a strategic partner of Ignition, owned and operated by Ola Nipper, who was the co-inventor of MQTT. Then we've got the purpose-built MES modules by Sempersoft, and there's the Ignition Edge, which is a lightweight version of Ignition, which is great for edge of network, stranded assets, HMI type environments.
Are all of these modules included, or do I?
So you buy the modules that you need. You don't have to have all of them. You can buy the modules as you need. And as I said, what's great about it is you can start small and you can scale up as your requirements grow. We can connect to anything. We can connect to touch panels, databases, PCs, mobile devices, MQTT, OPC, etc., etc., etc. You can, when I say we can connect to anything, we have ways of connecting to Azure, QuestDBs, AWS, Snowflake, DNP, Kafka, our service link modules, Omron, etc. We can really connect to anything. I want to briefly mention the Ignition architecture. So this is a pretty simple standard architecture. This is generally a good starting point where, and this is in fact what I'm going to build out later. I've got a standard little Ignition. I've got a database running on a separate machine. I can have my development clients, my mobile clients, anything that I need, web launch clients, workstation clients, connecting to my devices. As my requirements grow, I can scale it out, and I might have back-end gateways which service my I/O and front-end gateways which service my prospective clients or my web launch Ignition clients. I can scale it out to have multiple sites. I can include redundancy, and I can do anything in between. So really, you're not limited with your architectures that you have. It's one quick, easy install. In fact, you can download Ignition now. It's about, I think the latest download is about 1.8 gigs. It installs in less than 3 minutes, and you're up and running. And it runs on a demo license. Your license will run for 2 hours, and it then times out, and you reset it, and it runs for another 2 hours, etc. And you can use it on Docker, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. I've already got the Docker image up and running, and I'm just now going to go and switch over to my client. So this is my Ignition client. If I open up my web page, there we go. This is my version of Ignition to install. There are 3 different versions that we can install. The Edition Maker is great for the home enthusiasts. Marcus, that works with us, one of our application engineers, he's got his whole home running on it. And I know there's some people that have got their boreholes connected and their solar and all of that kind of stuff. Maker Edition. It's a full-blown version of Ignition that you can use free of charge. Standard Edition, which is what I'm going to use today, that's our standard edition with which you can install all of the modules, etc. And Edge is the lightweight version. Edge includes compute, it includes 35 days history, it includes a lot of things. It just doesn't include database connectivity, and it is what it is. You can't expand it. If you buy the Edge panel, it comes with 2 clients, and you can't expand from there. But it includes MQTT transmission, which is great. So let's go. Normally, I'd give everybody an opportunity to read the license manager, or the license agreement, but I've read it, so I'm not going to do it. I'm just putting in my username and password, and I'm going to start the gateway. And what it's busy doing now is it's busy commissioning the version of Ignition that I've done. It's doing some things in the background, and it will pop up in a few seconds with everything that we need. While I'm waiting, I'm just going to have a sip of water. By the way, if anybody has any questions, please pop those questions into the chat, and we will get to them. Right, so there we go. Ignition has now got itself commissioned. This is a quick start. This is a real easy way of just starting out Ignition and seeing how applications are built. So I'm going to enable the quick start. It's telling me that I've got to log in. I'm going to go and log in and continue, and it's now just building a little sample app for me. It's doing a few other things, configuring a wrong journal, and it should be done in a second or 2. So much for that. I just want to go and talk about this homepage. So this is my Ignition homepage. This is where I do all of my configuration from. There's a couple of interesting things in here. There's Inductive University. So you can go and log on to Inductive University. There's more than 40 hours of videos there that you can watch for free, and you can learn Ignition that way. What's great about those is that it's like 3, 4, 5 minute videos, and there's sections and there's little tests afterwards which you can write.
And it's also updated to 8.3 ignition 8.3.
Absolutely. So some people that I know that were on 5% are now on 2% because they haven't written. There's new stuff added. I was on 100%, I went down to 95%. The ignition exchange is a very interesting place. You can find resources there. There are real interesting things on the ignition exchange, which are applications and utilities written by ignition people, and it's all for free. So we'll use one later on. There are things like an alarm rationalization toolkit. There are some quick starts. There's a quick start for water. There's a quick start for data centers. So if you really want to get going quickly, there's some real great things on there. There's also the launchpad. We'll have a chat about that. And there's a couple of other things. The ignition user manual is available, not locked behind any firewalls or anything like that. Nothing along those lines. I'm going to go and open up this quick start application that we've got. And this is the quick start. Just a couple of interesting things that we're going to talk about here. The first thing I want to talk about is bindings and tag bindings. I don't know, every time you do a Microsoft update, they come back with these questions. Do you want to show this again? So tag bindings, I can do tag bindings. I can bind to tags. I can bind to properties and to statuses. I can bind to expressions. There's HTTP bindings I can do. I could really bind to anything in terms of visualizing what's happening in my plant floor environment. There's all sorts of localization that I can do. There's built-in navigation. There are themes and styles that I can use. So I can go and say, I've got a dark theme, I've got a light theme. For purposes of this, I'm going to just stick to this light theme. Sticking or going back to real-time visualization and control, we can do, not only can we visualize things, we can actually do control if we have the correct authority. So we can write back to tags if necessary. And one of the things that we need to do is if we write back on what we call the binding, you need to configure what we call bidirectional. So if I've got bidirectional configured, I can go and write to that tag. If I haven't got bidirectional configured, when I click on something, nothing will happen. And if I've got a read only, regardless of whether I configure that, even if I do configure the bidirectional, it's going to give me an error message. I can also use scripting to go and write tag values. I can go and add to a tag value. I can read and copy. I can subtract. I can do anything along those lines. Historical data, as I mentioned, there is the historian module or the historian suite that we can use. And there are all sorts of functionality around that historian. You can do there are the native built-in calculations to do aggregates, timing, state, all of those kinds of aggregates. You can do those aggregate calculations. There's training tools. All of that is available to you. There's data entry tools. In fact, there's a very nice in version 8.3. So I can build forms very easily to enter data. And in the latest version of Ignition 8.3, you have the capability to use forms offline, which is great if you're doing things like routines, risk analysis checks, all of those kinds of things. You can be offline, complete that form and upload it at a later stage, which is really great. There's reports that I can have. I can look at my reports. I can have, this is a simple tag history report that I can have in my history. I can go and do things like audit reports to see who did what important in regulated industries, food and beverage, pharma. All of this is built into Ignition. Just some components that we've got. We've got all of these things like chart range selectors. These are all built-in components. Naturally, within Ignition 8.3, I can go and build my own graphics. There is a complete graphic tool. I can go and build charts.
It really is not just unlimited in a way of tag count or modular. It's really what you can design and put into
No,
your application.
absolutely. You can design anything. All of these displays are standard. I want to talk about layouts. Layouts is very important. So Ignition Perspective, which is one of the visualization tools, is mobile aware. So typically, I would have something like this, and I'm just showing it in the web page, but you could have it in what we call workstation mode, which is locked down. But typically, if I use this on a smaller screen, what generally happens is the components on the screen just shrink until it's no longer available. So Ignition does shrink those components, but what you'll see is that it's actually, when we get to a certain point, it's rearranging those components on the screen to fit the resolution of the screen. So if I go down here and I say more tools and I say developer tools, if I go and choose something like, and they haven't updated this, but I go and choose an iPhone XR. That's what it's going to look like on an iPhone XR. So it's mobile aware, which is absolutely fantastic.
Can work on any device.
Any device, and it scales nicely for that device. Right, let's just go and have a look and do a couple of things. So I'm just looking here. This is where I configure my gateway status. I can configure security user sources. From a security perspective, I can use any identity provider that I want to use. I can use Windows Active Directory. I can use my own IDPs if I need to. We talk about connections. This is connecting to devices. So I'm going to go and create a device connection here. And as I mentioned earlier, I can connect to Allen Bradley and all the variants of Allen Bradley, even the old PLC5s and SLCs. Backnet, DNP3, IC61850, Mitsubishi, all the Omron, Modbus, and all the variants of Modbus, Omron, Siemens, S7 1200, 1500. There is the Siemens Enhanced Driver, which is an additional module that you have to purchase, but that allows you to do symbolic addressing. And there's this thing here called the Programmable Device Simulator. This allows me to simulate data. So if I don't have a device connected to and I want to see what everything is connected to, there's some built-in generic programs. I'm going to select none. And I'm going to say connect, create that device, and I'm going to go and edit the program, and I'm going to just import a CSV file that I've created. There we go, and there it is there, and I haven't done a lot in this. I've just created a couple of devices, but I can do whatever I need to do. So now I've got a device that's connected. Databases, as I said before, I can connect to databases. I can connect to Maria, Microsoft SQL, MySQL, Oracle, Postgres, SQLite, any of those. I've got a Microsoft SQL database that I've connected up, and I'm going to call this my demo alarms.
Can you connect to multiple databases at
I
once?
can connect to as many databases as I need, and it can be a mixture. So I can connect to some Postgres, some SQL, some Maria. It can be whatever I need. New in Ignition 8.3 is that I can either have the password, leave the password embedded in the application, or I can have it referenced and I can have a secret file. Let me just, there's that. I think I need to go and configure a couple of things here. I need to put in the IP address 153.134. I hope it's correct. And just put in the name of my database. And I'll create that database connection, and it's valid, thank goodness for that. What else do I want to do? Let me think about this. I want to go and create a historian. So if I buy the historian module, I can have the core historian, which is the new internal high-speed data historian. I can connect to CSV files if I've got data. If I might have a device that's pumping data into a CSV file, I can connect to a DB table on a different database. Historian splitter is very interesting in that I can store data to two separate historians. So I might want to have a scenario where I'm storing, for local purposes, I'm storing to a SQL database or to a core historian, and I'm storing to a Canary historian. So I can use that splitter to store to both at the same time. This is a legacy, the internal, remote, simulator, or a full SQL historian. I'm going to go for the core historian. Let's call this demo historian. And I've got to do some configuration around that. I'm not going to do any of that. We've got that. And I'm going to create an alarm journal to log all of my databases to a database. So I just select my data source, where it's going to go. I select priorities. I can do data filters. So I can log different alarms to different databases if necessary. And really, my configuration that I can do here is unbelievable what I can do. So I think that's most of my config done. Let's go and open up the designer. This is where I build all of my applications from. I need to go and add this in here. It is http://192.168.153.1:9088. That's what I'm doing because I'm using my Docker station. It's now just downloading everything. Remember, everything is web-based, web-deployed. So I don't store anything locally. Everything is on my server. So we're now busy downloading the application to my device.
Is the designer resource intensive?
Nah, it's hardly uses anything. In fact, Ignition, surprisingly enough, much like Canary, the resource requirements are pretty low. I did some testing a while back, and I was pumping 60,000 tags a second. I was historizing them. I had some visualization clients open. Single server, I was running 4 cores and 16 gigs of RAM. The important thing, of course, is if you're using SQL databases, you should try and have solid state drives and those kinds of things. So, got my designer. This is the sample quick start that we've already got built. I'm going to go and build a new project. And I'm going to call this my demo. Demo project, and I've got a project template. I'm going to use that one there, and I'll just use that as my default database, and we're pretty much done. And it's now going to go and build this project for me in the background. That's actually, I've loaded all the modules on here, so it's loading all the modules in it for me. Here's my development. Remember, I said that I can have as many developers as I like. I can have as many in the full version of Ignition that we're using here. I can have as many projects as I like. So I might have multiple developers working on multiple projects. I can have multiple developers working on the same project, and they will be notified if they are going to overwrite anything that somebody else has changed. So it manages all of that for me. Right, let's go and have a look. I'm going to go and browse for some tags. I'm going to browse my devices, and I've got here that plant. And I'm just going to drag this whole plant over, and I'm going to say apply. And straight away, inside of here, I get my tags. And what's interesting is that I'm seeing live values straight up. I've got some alarm metrics. I've got no alarms configured, so I won't have any alarm metrics. But alarm metrics are there per folder, so I can see all of my alarm metrics. Let's go and do a couple of things around the tags. First of all, I'm just going to go and edit the tags, and I'm going to just go and historize all of these tags. So I'm going to go down, I'm going to say history is true, and I just have to specify my storage provider. So that's that demo historian that I built, and I'm going to say go and historize. And I can see immediately I've got an icon next to it that I'm historizing tags. I'm going to go and do something else. I'm going to go on this pump, and I'm going to go and create an alarm. And I'm going to say pump fault. And I'm just going to put that same text in my label and in there. And I'm going to say this pump is in fault when its value is 2. And I'm going to do exactly the same for my valve, just so that we can see some valve fault. And let's put it in there and put it in there. And I'm going to say it's in fault when the value is 2. Cool. So we've now configured some alarms. Let's go and do something slightly different. Going to just go and open up perspective, and I've got some pages configured. This is my default. This is remember I said I'm using that template. And I've got this home page configured, and there it is there in the background. I'm going to go and say tools, launch perspective, launch the session. And you'll see that it opens up immediately for me in the background, and I've got everything open. It didn't ask me to log in. I'm not logged in. Let's go and change a few things. Let's just go first of all and say project properties. I'm going to say from my designer. By default, your designer is read only. So you can't go and accidentally write. The tags are available. You can't accidentally write. I've specified it to read write. And I'm going to go to perspective, and I'm going to say you have to be authenticated. And I'm going to say, okay. And if I now go and say, launch that session, I did the right thing. I forgot to save it.
Always a good start.
Always a good thing to save the session or to save your work. It asks me to log in. And now I'm going to have to log in, and I've fortunately saved my very secure username and password, and I'm now in my project. Now, how easy is it to develop things? So I want to show you something that's really cool. I'm just going to go and I'm going to say, delete that component, because I'm actually going to go and build some stuff on it. And I'm going to say, delete that component. And I'm going to just say, deep select that. And watch in the background here. As soon as I save my project, it's updated. I don't have to wait for anything. And this would update to all of my clients. One of the great things about Ignition 8.3 is I can have different deployment modes. So I can have different, I can have a development node or a development mode. I can have a QA mode. I can have a production mode. I can have multiple projects. You have some people that do all of their development on a development project and move it over. So really, things are unlimited. Let's go and build some stuff. How easy is it to build? I'm going to take this full level, and I'm going to drag it onto my screen there. And I've got some options. These are defaults. I can put it in as a cylindrical tank, as a gauge, whatever. And you can see it showing me live values, straight up, live values. I'm going to go and add a couple of other things in here. I'm going to go and say, and I'm just going to pin this out so that I don't have to keep searching for anything. I'm going to go and add a label. And I'm going to make this label, I'm going to call this discharge. I can't. I wish I could type and talk at the same time, but I can't. I'm a man. I can do one thing at a time. So there's my discharge temperature. And I take this tag and I drag and drop it there. And I'm going to put this as an LED display. And I'm going to take this, and I'm going to say duplicate it. And I'm going to move it down. And I'm going to go this, and I'm going to change this to suction temp. There we go. And I need to update this binding. To update the binding, all I do is I grab that and I drag it onto the existing binding, and we are done. Let's go and do a bit more. Let's go and add a pump. I should have made it that small.
There's a lot of the configuration.
Yeah.
It's
quick and easy.
Yeah, quick and easy.
So here I've got a pump, and I've got some configuration options for this pump. First of all, I don't really want to see the label. So I say, I don't want to see that label. And I don't really want to see the value either. Now the pump, I want to bind to the state. So what I should do is I should just drag and drop that. And immediately you can see it gives me an error. And the error says it's found an integer and expecting a string. So I can do some transforms. And this is great. I can do all sorts of transforms in Ignition. I can do map transforms. We'll have a look at that. We can do formatting transforms. I can write scripts around it. I'm just doing a straight value transform, but I can do color, style, change the style of text, expressions, do all of that kind of stuff. I'm just going to do real simple. I'm going to say, if the value is 0, it is opened. No. Closed. If the value is 1, it's opened. And if the value is 2, it's faulted. Remember, we set that up for the alarms. So I've got that done. Cool. I'm going to put a valve down as well. Got a valve symbol. And I'm going to do pretty much the same. I don't want to see the value and I don't want to see the label. And all of these could be binding. So I could go and bind my text. I could bind it to a tag name, to do anything that I want to do around that. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go and drag the valve state. It should give me the same error. I'm going to go and do the transforms. I'm going to say 0 is closed. 1 is opened. I think wrong text for the pump, but I'm not going to worry about it too much. I think I should have used running, stopped, started rather than open, closed, etc. On this here. Now this should say running.
Yeah.
We'll get it right.
Third time lucky.
Yeah, third time lucky and stopped. And we'll see with that pump, if I go and make it a value of, it is 1 already. If I go and make it a value of 0, it should show us that it stopped. There we go, it stopped. If I give it a value of 1, it shows running. And if I give it a value of 2, it's going to show me that it's faulted, as is the valve showing me that it's faulted. Let's leave it running. What else can we do? Let's do something real quick. Let's go and just take this mixer level, and I'm going to drag and drop that down there, and I'm going to make it a cylindrical tank. I think I missed it. Where's it gone? Huh? I don't know what this thing is doing. Before I put the mixer tank on, I've just remembered something else that I need to I want to add a multi-state button here to this valve to control the valve, just to show you that readback kind of stuff. I want to make that a row. I'm going to make it sit like this, and I'm going to say the states that we have here. If the value is 2, if the value is 1, I want to make it close there, and I want to make it open. That's my valve. And of course, I can go and change my colors around it and do whatever. But I certainly do need to animate this. So let's go to my valve and drag and drop that. And remember, we said if we want to write back, we need to make it bidirectional. So I made it bidirectional. And because it's a control valve, I can just go and do that. Let's go and see if we can get this mixer level on here. There we go. Mixer level. And I want to add a moving analog indicator. And I want to show you how easy it is just to change things around. So I've got this thing. I've got my binding there. I can say, copy the binding and select this thing and say, paste the binding. And now I've copied that binding across from one animation to the other.
Pretty easy.
If I save it, it's there in the background. I've got my control, so I can close my valve, I can open my valve, I can put it into fault, I can do all of those kinds of things with that. I historize some stuff. So I don't have 8 hours worth of data, I've probably got 10 minutes or so. I can go and look here at my tags. I can go and say, let's have a look at just those 3 tags that I want to do. I can add them on to my trend. Once I've got a trend, I can go and add an X trace, can add multiple X traces. I can do a range brush. I can go and add annotations. Annotations are fantastic for collaboration. So I can say the pump tripped, and everybody who has access to, who has authority to view this tag on a trend will see that annotation. I can go and make it full screen. I can go and export that data to a CSV file. I can really do anything that I need to do with it. It's really, really, really cool.
Is it possible to only make, let's say, a chart available to certain users?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I can secure. One of the great things in Ignition is I can secure everything and anything. So I can secure tags down to a tag level. So I can say, this particular tag is only available to that group of people or person, etc. Alarms, I mentioned alarms earlier. So there's my valve fault. I can go and look at the valve fault. I can look at the detail around it. I can see when it's been in state. I can go and do fancy things like I can shelve it if I've got authority. I can go and acknowledge it. I can do whatever I like. Now, I mentioned earlier this fantastic thing called the Ignition Exchange. So I've already downloaded a project, or not a project, but a utility from the Ignition Exchange called the Alarm Analysis Toolkit. So there it is there. I just go to projects and I say, and there's, with all of these, there is full descriptions on how to use it, but you can see built into this is all the queries, whether I'm using SQL, MySQL, Postgre, all of my views are built in, everything. And what it's done for me is it's gone and it's added a new view for me in there called an alarm analysis summary card and an alarm analysis. Let's go and do some stuff around. So I'm just going to make the screen big so that I can see what I'm doing. I am going to add a new navigation, and I'm going to call this that's my thing. My primary view for this is going to be my alarm analysis, and I think that's really all I need to do there. I could put a page title in there. And what I do need to do is I need to go to my menu, and I need to just go and add in the menu. I'm going to do it a real easy way. I'm going to say duplicate that. My target is that new URL I've added. The label, I'm going to change my label to say alarm analysis. I'm going to change my icon. Let's see what icon I can use. I think that's quite a cool one for that. And if I go and say save, it will go in the background and it's added it. And if I go to that alarm analysis, working just like that. I think that's enough demo for a few minutes. Let's just go back. And are there any questions in the meantime?
No questions?
No questions yet. Quiet audience today. So really, Ignition gives you the possibility of building brilliant solutions very, very easily. As you can see it, I get things going, and I'm not even good at Ignition. If you get somebody like Marcus or some of our system integrators who use Ignition, they can build things faster than I can build them. You can design it fast, you can build it, and because of the flexibility, you can unlock your creative freedom. If you want to learn about Ignition, I've mentioned the Inductive University already, but we do have training available. Element 8, we run training courses. Virtually every week of the month, there is a training course happening, or at least 2 courses a month. There are ways to get yourself certified, course certified, gold certified. There are courses, tests available for you to do it. I want to talk about Ignition Launchpad. So I mentioned the Ignition Exchange. Ignition Launchpad, these applications are fully built applications that are available for download and for you to use. They pre-built templates. There are step-by-step tutorials on how to configure them. There's 2 projects. There's a KPI dashboard and there's an OEE project. If we look at the KPI dashboard, it's got a complete system. All you really need to do is go and work out what KPIs you want and connect them up to your automation system. There are multiple different types of KPIs. There's charts, there's gauges, there's all sorts of things. There are trending tools. You can customize everything just on a click. History is available. They're mobile responsive, flexible use case. Some of the screens side of the Ignition Launchpad, this is the KPI project. There's an overview screen. There's a dashboard that you can customize, where you can put on your own widgets. Trending tools available, alarming is available. And then there's the Launchpad OEE project, which gives you very simple OEE. If you want to expand it, you can. In fact, I saw a very nice video from Corso Systems where he took this OEE and he expanded it into a batching system, but it's completely plug and play. You need a couple of tags per line. You get overviews, which can show you all of your lines. It's an unlimited number of lines that can be configured. You can see the OEE per line. There's an interesting little widget called the notepad widget where you can leave notes for the next shift or the next person on duty. There is real-time and historical trending available. You can see your top production numbers, your OEE per line, and the numbers associated with OEE, your availability, your performance, your quality. One of the nice things here is it shows you where you're taking your hit. There's your full line analysis where you can see per line what your production summaries are like. And you can configure shifts and you can configure rates and you can do all of that configuration around it. Last but not least, I want to mention the Element 8 pricing tool as well. Ignition pricing is public. So if you go to the Ignition website, as is Canary pricing, as is Sepasoft pricing, all the pricing is public, but Ignition, Canary, Sepasoft, all their pricing on their websites is in US dollars. We've built HTTPS pricing tool at element8.co.za, which is local rand-based pricing.
I'm also sharing the link in the chat.
Thank you. So you can go and click on any one of those. You can get a price. I'm just going to walk through the Ignition pricing where you select whether you want a platform, edge, IIoT. You can select building suites or application suites. These suites, the solution suites, are really great because they are a suite of products where there is first and foremost a financial benefit. So if you look at like the application building suite, you get unlimited perspective, unlimited reporting. It's cheaper than buying the 2 separate, and If they add a new module into that and it's on basic care or a care package, you get that new module for free. For example, Data Ops Suite at the moment consists of the SQL Bridge. It consists of the event modules, event streams. When the MCP module is released later this year, I believe that that's going to be included in the Data Ops Suite. If you've got Data Ops Suite and you've got it on a care package, you will get that MCP module for free. So it's great value in that. If you don't want the solution suites or there are modules that you don't need, you can go and add individual modules to it. You can then go and select whether you want redundancy or care package that you need. If you complete all the details, the request quote button will become available. It will pop you an email to tell you, give you a summary. It'll pop us an email and we will send you an official quote. If you need any more information, don't be shy. Pop me a mail, gary.lowenstein@element8.co.za. There's my phone number. If I don't answer calls, it's because I'm busy in a meeting. Leave a message. I will phone you back or pop me a WhatsApp, whatever you need to do. With that, thank you all very much for joining this session. I hope it was valuable. As I said up front, I know your time is valuable, so I hope that this session was valuable. Thank you all. If you're traveling this long weekend, travel safely, and we'll see you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.